All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting of our Del Mar College Board of Regents to order. It's 1 p.m. on Tuesday, March the 3rd. For those of you who have not yet voted in the party primaries, if that is your choice to do so, I encourage you to go vote before 7 p.m. tonight. Heldenfels Building on the Heritage Campus is one of the places that you can vote. So, Oso Creek. Yes, Oso Creek campus has a voting place as well, I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's right. Yes. So I encourage you to go vote. I'm going to call a roll to establish our quorum. Regent Krull. Here. Regent Kelly.
Here.
Regent Averett. Here. Dr. Adami.
Here.
Regent Garza. Regent Loeb.
Here.
Dr. Babley. I'm Carol Scott. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Regent Kelly, would you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag and country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please join us as we read our Del Mar College vision statement. Del Mar College empowers our communities to achieve their dreams. We are streaming our live audio and video from this Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with exception of portions of the meeting considered as closed session by statute. At the beginning of our meeting, we have an opportunity for general public comment for items not on our agenda. Is there anyone here to address the board? Thank you very much, Jeff. We do not have public comment today. So we are going to start our meeting then with recognitions. We love the opportunity to recognize students, faculty, and this time to represent one of our centers, Dr. Halcomb.
Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Escamilla, thank you for the opportunity to recognize the Stone Writing Center that celebrates 50 years of providing writing instruction to Del Mar College students this year. A half-century ago, in 1976, the concept of a writing center began in one room of the English building. Del Mar College made history by opening the English Learning Lab as the first United States college in the Southwest to establish a writing center, making it one of the oldest writing centers in the country. The English Learning Lab was later named the Stone English Learning Lab in honor of the late Dr. Virginia Stone, and moved to the English Learning Center building. I don't know if any of you remember that building. Some of you that were here a while may. The center fulfilled the late Dr. Virginia Stone's dream that Del Mar College provide a place and the staff for students to receive one-on-one instruction supplemental to the classroom in English skills. The Stone Writing Center was kept up with innovations of the time. Remember, in 1976, you didn't really have computers back then, so they had to go with the times and constantly improve the technology and the new innovations. In December 2004, the Board of Regents voted unanimously to rename the English Learning Center as the Stone Writing Center. In 2012, the Stone Writing Center moved to the White Library. The Stone Writing Center temporarily located the Coles building until the library renovations were completed. So just last December 2025, Stone Writing Center moved to its permanent home in the second floor of the newly renovated White Library. The Stone Writing Center has locations, so even though the main hub is in the White Library, we have Stone Writing Centers at all three campuses, Oso Creek and Windward as well. Currently, the Stone Writing Center provides one-on-one and small group writing instruction to help students from all disciplines. It's not just about the English classes. It includes all disciplines here in which students need help with their writing. Students can meet with a tutor on campus, or they can submit their work to the online Stone Writing Center, which is in our Canvas site. Stone Writing Center faculty facilitate workshops tailored to specific assignments that the faculty may have in their classes, and then they would put in that request. And also they offer spaces, devices, and study areas for the students. And they can work in groups or individually. Much has changed in the 50 years, but one thing that remains consistent is helping our students and making them lifelong learners. So we have that over the whole 50 years. Now, Dean Cody Gregg, who is the Dean over Learning Resources, will now tell us about the plans for the 50th anniversary and also recognize the staff of the Stone Writing Center. Dean Gregg.
Thank you, Dr. Holcomb. Good afternoon, Dr. Escamilla, Regents. It has been my privilege and my honor to have the Stone Writing Center under my purview in the Learning Resources Division for the last 8.5 years. I want to thank you for recognizing their 50th anniversary and celebrating their long history of leadership and providing academic support for Del Mar students. As you can see on the screens, next month on April 15th, from 11 o'clock a.m. to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we will celebrate the Stone Writing Center's golden anniversary on the second floor of the White Library. Of course, you are all invited, and we would love to see you all there. At this time, I would like to introduce the Stone Writing Center staff, and I'll ask them to go ahead and please stand. The director of the Stone Writing Center is Linda Eubank. We have Angela Aguilar, Roycelyn De Leon, Riley Hester, Lori Jones, Aya Karpczynski-Yates, Catherine Kennedy, Mary Luttrell, Jacob Mann, and Margot Sorrell. Thank you all for everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Dean Craig, and thank you, Dr. Holcomb. Anything else?
I would like to see if Linda Eubank, who has managed the Stone Writing Center for quite a few years, she wouldn't tell me exactly how many years, but it's been a while. So Linda, could you come forward, please, and say a few words? Well, I have not been here since the start. Let me make that clear. But thank you, Dr. Holcomb and Cody Gregg, our dean, for their kind words. And thank you to the board and Dr. Escamilla for recognizing us today. But most of all today, I want to recognize my team that you've just met. It's a dedicated group of educators who honor our mission statement in the Writing Center every single day. And that mission statement is to help students become better writers and more confident writers. And that's something we've just never forgotten in the center. We are going to celebrate our 50th in just a few weeks. We hope you will join us there. And thank you, especially Dr. Escamilla, for always supporting us. We've come up with some crazy ideas and the crazy equipment we wanted to buy, but we would justify it to the point where they asked us not to send any more justifications in. So anyway, thank you all. We appreciate your support.
Thank you, Ms. Eubank, and thank you all for including us in the anniversary celebration. I know that many of us will put it on our calendars and make every attempt to be there. Is that open to the public or to students? Past everyone. So if you've ever benefited from the Stone Writing Center during your tenure at Del Mar College, I wasn't going to ask you to raise your hand. I was going to invite the viewing public, anybody who might be out there.
I am so proud to raise my hand with Regent Garza over here. We've shared our stories over the years about our time as students here and the importance of it and what it actually did. It did help me, it helped me throughout my entire educational career, certainly, and well into my professional career. I'm forever indebted to the English faculty and the Stone Writing Center staff. And so it's a serious thing. But yeah, we've had some fun over the years in the transitions from building to building to building. It only took us 50 years to get to our final destination, right, team? So, but thank you all for everything you all do every day. We're still going to bring them. There's more and more students coming than ever before, so stay tuned. Here they come.
Thank you. Congratulations. Dr. Escamilla, would you like to continue with your college president's
I
report?
would, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. What a great segue.
So on February 4th, I participated in the I continue to participate in the sounding board meeting with the Texas Association of Community Colleges with my fellow CEOs and working with the leadership at the Texas Coordinating Board, namely the commissioner, Dr. Wynn Rosser, and so forth. So I continue to kind of tie up loose ends from HB8. There's still a lot of things going on there with regards to funding and performance-based issues, and so know that I've got my ear close to the track with that group, and I continue to bring it back home and so that we can shape our outcomes and policy adjustments that are necessary here at the college. The following day, again, I was with the Community College Finance Standing Advisory meeting also, and I continue to work on that one. That was a new appointment that's going to go till, I think, 2028, as I understand it. And again, there too, we continue to look at performance-based funding and how it all ticks and ties with the state's finances and so forth. So we don't have a whole lot of details on that one just yet, but I'm hoping down the road I can do a more formal presentation on the details from that. But just know that we've got that ball rolling as well, and we're in close contact with both the coordinating board and the LBB. And then on the 17th, I was honored to be the keynote speaker for the Texas Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents. I had a great time. I was asked by my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Sandra Clement, whom many, if not all of us know from CCISD, to discuss a keynote and talk about leadership and administration. They wanted to hear a little bit about my background, that kind of thing. And as their guest, it was an honor to be amongst, 30 or 40 superintendents, principals from throughout the region. And what's important, the big thing that was real important, we were talking about how Del Mar College interfaces with all of their school districts and so forth. But one of the important messages that came out of that, although this is the group is Latino administrators and superintendents, it's for everyone, and people from all different backgrounds are participating in there, which I was most pleased to see and witness and be a part of. And I think we may even jump in there and become a member of this organization. So just hats off again to the Talas group, and thanks to Dr. Clement and team. She's the incoming president. And then finally, February 6th through the 11th, I participated and traveled to Washington, D.C. in the very important National Legislative Summit for the Association of Community College Trustees. I'm going to hear a little bit more about this from our regents who were there and present with myself and Dr. Villarreal. It was a most important meeting in our nation's capital, and I was so honored to be received as warmly. Well, it was cold as all get out, but anyway, as warmly as we were received was much appreciated by our delegation, and I was proud to be a part of it. And the conference was just a stellar. I think one of the best works ACCT has done at the NLS for a very long time. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dr. Escamilla? Seeing none, so we grouped his last item on his bullet point, the Regents report on the Legislative Summit, and then Dr. Villarreal is going to come up and give us some background on the legislative update on the federal agenda. So we wanted to group those three items together because they all centered around the trip that we took to D.C. Dr. Babley and I were able to attend. We go in on Saturday and did committee meetings. Dr. Babley serves on the Audit and Finance Committee as well as on the U.S.-India Task Force. I serve on the Membership Committee and chair the Western Region table for the state coordinators. So we had a series of meetings and ACCT board meeting. From an association standpoint, the association is very strong. We have over $10 million in revenue and expenses, the first time we have hit over that $10 million mark in the history of the association. And our attendance and participation and revenues from both our annual Congress and our National Legislative Summit continue to grow. So the association at the federal level is very, very strong. We have a well-respected CEO and legislative staff who have done some great work, and you're going to hear about the substance. I'm going to stop there and let Dr. Babley give his report, and then I'm going to fill in some gaps, and then we'll invite Dr. Villarreal forward to talk about the substance of the legislative agenda. Dr. Babley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's a great pleasure to represent Del Mar College and the community in Washington, D.C. at the National Legislative Summit. So this is my second, the first time I attended as a rookie agent. But this time, I was well informed, but I was constantly amazed every day we were there with the depth and the care that this special space in higher education that community colleges occupy, show, and exhibit. Very unlike the traditional 4-year, 6-year colleges. We have that closeness to the community, and we connect to our students and their families at a deeper level. And it shows that commitment when 1,300 people, I think, attended the summit. And I'm always constantly looking at our team, Dr. Villarreal and Chairman Scott and President Escamilla, and myself. We are the 4 moving and shaking every day. I mean, we were meeting people, we were going to sessions, we were taking notes, and we were literally deeply embedded in what we did. And that shows our own dedication, their dedication to our community here, So on that macro level, the feelings I had about that. And it also shows us, in my observations, how community colleges, although they occupy a very valuable space in higher education of the United States, we tend to be very vulnerable too to the currents of what's going on in the country, socially, economically, culturally, politically. We are very vulnerable. And I think the fact that there were so many sessions addressing the latest legal challenges, ethical challenges, issues that are rarely mentioned, but for justifiable reasons, they come up. They address these issues. DEI is a good example. We rarely discuss that here because everybody kind of has that deep fear of even mentioning DEI now. But there was, every other session would discuss the challenges that what's going to happen now. How are we going to address issues of equity, representation? In a way, all those things come up both in the attorneys, legal sessions, and also on the higher education, the administrative session. But the primary reason we're there is to advocate. We are in the realm of advocacy when we are in Washington, D.C., right? So, and the legislative team that we visited, Dr. Villarreal did a fantastic job of arranging the meetings, nailing down appointment times, and we spent a great deal of time with the 2 congressional representatives, Michael Cloud and Vicente Gonzalez. I mean, they were kind-hearted, very receptive, very open, and we spent enormous amount of time, given their schedule. You should see their daily schedule on the Capitol Hill. And it was literally, 5 degrees below outside with snowcrete, concrete, snow getting tight, that's snowcrete, I believe. I didn't know the word until I got there. And so we would stand in the line to go into the buildings, and this is all like freezing outside, right? So, and then we go in and, warm hospitality of both Representative Cloud and Representative Gonzalez. It was just a moving experience for us, and very receptive. They would listen. More than 2 hours, one of the representatives spent with us that morning. And then Chairman Scott was busy. We split up our times with who we should spend. She was with the Senator Conan, and we were with the representatives, and we were just equally distributing our time, and they were very, very happy to see us, and we were very happy to see them. And our agenda, was about 4 major points that I wanted to mention is, preserving and securing continuation of Pell Grants and incorporating the new innovative and latest needs in Pell Grants. Workforce Pell, cost of living, inflation adjustments for these grants, possibility of tax exempt status. There's a lot of dimensions to Pell Grants that they heard from us and hearing from us literally firsthand is the concern that we are expressing our community's needs as such, and how to preserve that and how to promote affordability and student access for low-income students as such. And also the importance of, and they didn't need to be persuaded to accept the fact that community colleges like Del Mar plays a vital role in the economic health of this region, and how the workforce development and the education that we provide meets and enhances the economic viability of this region as such. So we wanted to make sure that they have that recognition in their mind, and our workforce innovation, job training, career and technical education, adult basic education, childcare access, all the concerns that we are seeing both in our region and elsewhere. So meeting them in person, and already we had a great rapport, I think. We didn't need to introduce ourselves. They knew us, we knew them, and their staff knew us. So we're continuing that dialogue as such. So those are the main observations that I wanted to make, is that for a region to actually see and recognize the importance of what we do in Del Mar College and how it affects and impacts on our communities can be seen at the national level, and how we speak with authority to our elected representatives. That was a key element of our experience at the summit as such. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's what I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Dr. Babley.
Yeah.
So I wanted to build on what he said about the time that we had allotted to spend with both Representative Cloud and Representative Gonzalez. One, thank you to Natalie, but thank you to their staffs as well for securing us the availability to do that. We literally went and met Representative Cloud right off the floor of the House of Representatives. He was serving as Speaker pro tem for an hour or so that morning while the Speaker was engaged in some other activities. And so he literally came off the House floor and met with us in what is one of the lobby areas of the House. And so that was very beneficial. And he did spend, gosh, a good 45 minutes, maybe almost an hour with us. And then with relationships that Dr. Escamilla, of course, has with Representative Gonzalez, because Dr. Escamilla knows everybody who's ever lived in Corpus Christi. We had an ample opportunity to spend time with Representative Gonzalez as well. And for those of you who follow Senator Cornyn, yes, he did once again mention that his father attended Del Mar College before he went to dental school. And so Senator Cornyn always has a shout out when Texas is in the room. Somebody from Del Mar College better be there because he's going to call us out on it. So yes, once again he did. And then we also got to hear that afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, at a congressional forum, I think a dozen different representatives and senators, ranking member Scott. We got to hear from Dr. Fox, who is a former chair of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. So a variety of congressmen and women who came by to visit with us during the congressional forum. We also got to hear as a group from Undersecretary Kent, the Education Undersecretary Nicholas Kent, as well as the Assistant Secretary for Labor. So we had some really outstanding speakers throughout the conference. With that, I'm going to invite Natalie to come forward, and we'll get a chance to look in detail at the legislative agenda. And we're spending a little bit of time doing this because while today is party primary day, now we're going to be getting into the heart of campaign season for the November general elections. And we think it's important for folks to understand at the federal level what our legislative agenda is. If you ever have any questions or concerns, please talk to Dr. Villarreal or Dr. Escamilla. But we want the regents to know the general overview. So if you have the opportunity to visit with representatives or senators as they're out and about on the campaign trail, you know what to talk about. Dr. Villarreal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. Escamilla, Board of Regents. So you're getting past 3 different pieces of information. I'll wait till you all receive it. I'm going to be going through, as you know right now, there's so much going on politically in all arenas of our world. And so I'm really going to try to focus in on the state and national main ideas that are really impacting us right now. And especially with the federal, you hear a lot of this on television. And so we'll bring up some items that hopefully as you're watching things and you hear things in the news, you can relate it back to us here in the Coastal Bend and how it affects our community in Del Mar College. So you should have, your first one should be a political advertisement from Governor Greg Abbott on empowering taxpayers. And then you should have a second piece of paper with the Texas Association of Community College proposed interim charges before the next session. And then the final piece you should have is the federal legislative priorities. So starting with the state interim charges, the first thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that the colleges did receive a memo a few weeks ago stating that our February appropriations would be delayed. The challenge with that is because we are overperforming, specifically in areas of the Occupational Skills Awards, so the OSAs and dual credit courses. We just happen to be outperforming what they thought we were going to do. They have committed to receiving that payment. I checked with Mr. Garcia yesterday. We still don't have a date, correct?
Let me just double check with my team.
Yeah, that's correct. We don't have a date.
We do have a date?
No, we do not.
We do not have a date.
We do not have a date.
But they have committed that we will receive the payment because it is something that has been promised to us. How that affects us in the next session definitely remains to be seen. So they are committed to that. Now I'd like to draw your attention to that 5-point governor's plan that I handed out to you. So really what Governor Abbott's idea for empowering Texas taxpayers is to really overhaul the property tax system. So if you remember from the last session, we spent a lot of time and energy talking about taxes and local taxing entities. And so this is something that we saw after last session is going to continue to come at us. And so these are the 5 areas the governor really wants to get ahead of. Again, it's very early. And so yesterday we did have the privilege, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Olson, and I had the privilege to meet with Mr. Kishnik from Nueces County, our tax assessor and collector. And so we did start talking about areas of which we think there's something out of these big key pieces There is eventually some small piece that will probably go through, although it is very early. So I just wanted to let you know that we are keeping up with all of this and keeping in contact with Mr. Kishnik, and we will be talking with Judge Scott, the school district as well, and the city, to make sure that when it is time to start putting our advocacy together, we are all on the same page. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Is it possible for us to do some quick analysis of if some of these went forward as they are, what the impact would be?
Yes.
We did talk about that yesterday with Mr. Garcia. Raul, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so it almost sounds like there's still a lot of variables that are still not known today, so it makes it very difficult for an estimate. But one comes to mind is the two-thirds voter approval, right? And so historically, property taxes represent 60% of our tax revenue, and so there could be years that could follow without any increase until a voter approves it. So that could mean roughly, I would say, anywhere from $6 to $8 million a year that we would have to figure out what to do if there's a shortfall because of the voter requirement. So, and again, it's still a lot of uncertainty today.
And yes, the modeling can be done.
Yeah.
And we can project and use past years' allotments incrementally increased and that kind of thing. Thank you for Mr. Garcia for joining the team with Mr. Kishnik, but we discussed yesterday also about these modeling, forecasting kinds of opportunities, and this is
Yes.
one in a separate meeting. So Mr. Garcia's had it twice, so those models will be coming forth.
Thank you. So yes, Madam Chair, we will have those, and we'll start getting those ready so that we can hit the ground running early.
Yeah, so I think there's several of these where devil's in the details, and when you talk about two-thirds voter approval for property tax increase, is that a rate increase? Is that an effective increase? Is that one of the both? We already have caps on them. So there's a lot of questions around what it is.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And as we know, the governor does not, write legislation, but this really is his way of getting out in front and really prioritizing
Right.
and what is to come during this next session. So something that we need to be prepared for.
Thank you.
The next item I wanted to discuss with you is the H1.
I just have an overall
yes, sir.
comment about this, is nobody knows better than what the needs of the local community is than the locals, and the state is wanting to take those powers away from the local entities. And I don't know, I just get real frustrated about this because they want to do away with the tax system, but at the same time, he's limited our ability to raise tuition. He's going to cap property taxes. So how are we going to continue to serve our students adequately? That's the frustration that I have.
Yes, sir. If you look at our three-legged stool of how we fund the college, appropriations, taxes, and tuition and fees are all being impacted right now. So there is going to be, I believe, a lot of advocacy in that area moving forward, and your work's going to be really important in this. So that's why we felt we wanted to bring it to your attention today, just so you know that we are keeping track of it, and we will continue to monitor it and give you information as we move forward. Thank you, Regent Kroll. I wanted to also bring up the H-1B visa. I know, Dr. Bobley, we talked a lot about this when we were in D.C. This could have also been in the federal report, but I wanted to bring this up because we are talking a lot about this at the state level. So the 1B visa, just to give it the definition, it allows employers to hire foreign workers in specialty occupations that require that highly specialized knowledge, so at least a bachelor's degree or equivalent, to really take take the place and fill in the gaps that we do not currently have in the labor workforce in the United States. And so right now in the state of Texas, MD Anderson and Texas A&M University are the two largest organizations, entities that are being affected by this. So if you have a visa application already en route, it is being processed. However, they are not taking any new applications at this time. So again, that is something that Dr. Escamilla, did you want to talk about that? Okay. Any questions on that? There's a lot of different things, so I'm jumping around because there's a lot of little interesting pockets of information I wanted to give you. The next one is regarding, there will be a new Senate Committee for Higher Education. If you remember in the past, Senator Brandon Creighton was taking both. He was K through 12 and higher ed. Now that he has stepped out of office, they are reorganizing that. So we will have a Senate Higher Ed Committee again, just for us. So we'll wait to see after elections, once everybody gets settled in session, and see who takes that chair position. And lastly, you have the Texas Association of Community College interim charges. And that is this sheet right here in front of you. And again, these are just the areas that you're going to hear TAC and CAT are currently advocating on behalf in between session. So again, like Dr. Escamilla mentioned, formula funding and outcomes, that is significant right now, especially because we are overperforming and they're not quite sure how they're going to work those calculations. So that is something that Dr. Escamilla has been having very in-depth conversations with at the coordinating board, and we appreciate that. Again, the dual credit incentives, again, have been significant. Workforce education grants, we really want to pay attention to. And so with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about Workforce Pell, because that is actually what we learned in DC, and we've had Dr. DeVette on his team on a lot of webinars. When it comes to Workforce Pell, since it's coming down from the federal government, each state is going to look different. So it's going to be up to the governor to decide what is appropriated in Workforce Pell and what that structure is going to be like. So TAC and CAT have been working with the coordinating board. They do feel like we are a little bit behind in forming a committee so that we can start preparing that so that we can give those recommendations to the governor. So they're working with Commissioner Rossiter right now to see if we can get that going as a state so the governor can start making those decisions.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Villarreal, 2 points about Workforce Pell. And I want everyone to hear this, the importance of participating with ACCT and the legislative summits and all the national legislative efforts. It took 10 years for Workforce Pell to come to fruition, and we're still not really across the goal line yet, so to speak. We've not kicked it off, and we're still in rules and negotiations and all these
Yes.
about the finer points, and still going back 10 years. So I just want to share that with you, because these things take time. They take all of your time. They take all of your initiatives, and it's great that we have, one of our regents, our very own Chair Scott, on the national board to keep the eyes and ears to the focused on these kinds of things. And then secondly, again, we will come back to the Board of Regents with the information. We began in earnest. As soon as I got back from Washington, D.C., we began meeting about the details as much as we know. And so just know that we are waiting for these things to roll out, and then so that we can bring the information back to you all as a board. And then finally, the point I'd like to make is that they're expecting this first rollout to be of modest gains. They're not going to open the floodgates for us. We're going to gently, wade out into these waters, so to speak, and there won't be. Well, again, there'll be modest gains, and I'm quoting them on this. So we'll have a time or two, a cycle or two, to really develop these details for funding opportunities here. And unfortunately for our students, it's going to be a little slower than not, but we'll find ways to help them.
It is going to be slow, and they did warn us about that. So they do say it's going into effect July of 26. That doesn't mean that we're going to start receiving payments. So it just means that they're kicking it off. And so right now they are in rulemaking. They've asked for comments, but ACCT was pretty honest in that the rules that they have put out right now are probably going to are pretty set for now. So we'll see this summer how it kicks off.
And that message has been received by the state.
Yes.
Do you feel confident that TAC is on top of
Yes.
the conversations with the governor's office about how it rolls out in Texas?
Yes, and that's really where I found out most of my information was through TAC and these sounding board meetings and so forth that I'm on. That's where the information is, but yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you. So if we can then go ahead, if we don't have any more questions on the state, we can move over to the federal side of the House. Yes, sir, Regent.
I've got a comment on state. I just want to point out 13 states in this country do not have local property taxes supporting their community colleges because the state pays the entire budget.
Yes.
So if they want to have the conversation about us getting our lowering our property taxes, I'm happy to dollar for dollar lower property taxes for a general appropriation that they give us to run this place. It's a model used other places,
sir.
and we should talk about that if that's the discussion, because I think there's long been an issue where Corpus Christi taxpayers are because of the way they set it up, they are subsidizing other service area people to attend the college. And so the easiest way to even that out is that the state takes over paying the full freight and we can get rid of the property tax. And when instead of going out for bond packages and borrowing money, we can go up there like the state universities do and get them to write us a check for projects. I think if that's, that's the conversation to have. And so I think we should look at it as an opportunity to have them pay a larger share, because most other states, the state government does pay a larger share than they do in Texas. So,
Thank you, Regent Loge.
Well, with funding from the state, it creates opportunities, but it also creates pitfalls, because who controls the goals controls the agenda. And by the state coming in and funding, they're going to want to say in how we operate.
I mean, I think they've decided that they get to decide how we operate anyway. So
but they will take a much greater role in the operation and how things are operated.
that appears to have worked out very well for them at the state university level.
Yeah, right.
So moving on. So if we look at, thank you, Regent
Dr.
Kroll.
Villarreal, before you move on from the state.
Madam Chair, I have, sorry.
I just want to thank Regent Kroll for his remarks earlier, and hopefully what I'm hearing is more of a willingness on the part of us as regents to, myself included for sure, to get more involved in the next session. I think that there were some laws that came out of this last session that have affected us in ways that perhaps we didn't anticipate or have tied our hands more than we thought. And I'm grateful that we're talking about this at this point, and I know that we let this state agency take a lot of the lead on this, but I think we're all well aware that what's being proposed would, not make our lives more difficult, but make our ability to serve our constituents who elected us more difficult, that we feel like we have a job to do that we were elected to do, and in many ways our hands are being tied there. So I hope that we will become more active, a little bit more outspoken as we move into the next session next year, and try to head off some of these proposed laws that we think are not appropriate.
Just a concern about the H-1B visa status. Although it's largely impacting on 4-year, 6-year colleges, we also need to be looking at how we are going to handle the H-1B crisis which I see around in the country and in the state. For example, if we are forging some international ACCT partnerships and looking at shortage of certain professions, occupations like nursing, how are we going to handle the nursing shortage and nursing faculty shortage, and how we may have to look at finding personnel who are licensed to teach nursing, and how are they going to be handled if we need to apply for H-1B status? How is the state going to make exceptions? I know there's O1 and EB1 visas that are meant for intellectuals. That is still open, but we have seen some really major crisis not in community colleges, but it is looming. It's going to affect us. But the traditional 4-year, 6-year colleges, are losing millions of dollars. $45 million shortage, UNT reported last week, because they don't have international students, which is the pipeline to H-1B and beyond. Our TAMUCC has lost, 50 to 65% of international student enrollment, and that affects the budgets, operating budgets of the universities. All A&M is in crisis. There are lots of universities, state universities and colleges are in trouble because H-1B is stifled. That means international applications are going to Europe, Australia, New Zealand. They're not coming here anymore. So this is a long-term crisis I see, but maybe we as Del Mar College need to be just sensitive to our own needs later on in H-1B, just keep it in mind. Thank you.
Regent Babbitt, just as an update, we currently are not sponsoring any H-1B visas.
Yeah.
That's just our circumstances today. We have before in the past, as I recall. It's been some time. Very few, albeit. That's from an employment standpoint. The second point regarding the opportunity for potential nursing faculty, that grant we're applying for, and for you all that do not know, we're working with through ACCT for a possibility of a grant that would enable a pipeline of sorts for nursing faculty to share for nursing faculty with us, bring them here to us for the opportunity to teach here at Del Mar College. To that point, we spoke with our congressmen, both current congressmen and both, and the two that maybe probably be running against each other, if I'm guessing. But either way, we spoke to them, and we got their assurances, though, that if there's any need on a individualized basis or on a handful of opportunity or needs or so forth, that we can go to them, and then they assured us that they would give us their full attention to that matter. So we did cover that topic with them. I think you were in that meeting, but maybe not. So we're trying every which way to cover our bases and do the right thing so that we can continue to seek out opportunities for the faculty.
And so going on with the federal issues, I wanted to start off with the fiscal year 2026 budget. As you know, it did just pass, and we were very blessed that community colleges did receive level funding for fiscal year 2026. However, the advocacy work for 27 has already started. We had heard last year when Linda McMahon came in that the Department of Education was going to close. So far, it has not closed. However, what we're starting to see is a maneuvering of a shift from the administration, moving some of the programming to different departments. And so just for example, the TRIO grant program is now going to be under the Department of Labor. And so we're going to start to see the Department of Education getting smaller and smaller. Just for example, there's $80 billion going to the Department of Labor from the education side of the government, and currently they only oversee $10 billion. So right now that is a little bit of concern right now for higher education, in that they're taking on a significant amount of more appropriations and monies on behalf of higher education. So if you hear something about it in the news, please pay attention to that, because that would impact us significantly. The other area that we had heard a lot about in the news is the minority serving institutions. However, what we saw is that they were actually continued to be funded in fiscal year 26. We're not really sure why or what happened, but there was some things that got dropped, and there was actually an increase in funding for the MSIs for 26. So again, we'll continue to see what that looks like for fiscal year 27. Does anybody have any questions on that? Dr. Bobley, thank you. You covered a lot of the legislative priorities, which you have a sheet here in front of you. And the highlighted in yellow is what ACCT and AACC did ask us to focus on when we were talking with our legislators. I won't go in about it too much, because I know Dr. Bobley did at length and covered, I think, a lot of the important pieces. But one of the areas that we continue to have to advocate for is the Pell Grant. Because a couple of things, the FAFSA now has had an increase in the amount of people who are applying, because it's become simpler now to fill out, but also with Workforce Pell. So with the anticipation of Workforce Pell, more people applying for financial aid, we're really continuing to advocate for that, to ensure that our students are receiving those proper resources. Another large item that we advocated for is adult basic education, which is our GED and ESL programs, which are very important to the area, to the college. So we continue to advocate for those at the federal level as well. And the last thing I'll talk about is the House Community College Caucus is reforming again. They took a pause for a while. So while we were there, we did ask Congressman Cloud and Gonzalez that they would consider joining the Community College Caucus Committee. Congressman Gonzalez did say that he was willing to look into it, and asked his staff to look into that for him. So we're hoping that we will do that. It has been really great to have a congressional leader who attended a community college. The advocacy is different. Yes, he attended Del Mar College, yes, sir. And so you can tell the difference in the conversation, because they get it. And the education piece is very different. So we appreciate having Congressman Gonzalez and Cloud on our side. Does anybody have any other questions?
We should follow up with Representative Cloud, too, because he acted like he was surprised that they weren't a member. So let's make sure we follow up with him as well.
We will. The hiatus, I think, threw him off, and I think that was new to him, so we put all those, we connected those dots. Oh, and by the way, Congressman Gonzalez attended South Park Junior High. He was a Black Knight, too. So
and Carroll,
and Carroll is a Carroll Tiger as well.
Yes.
Sorry, just had that.
We don't hold the Carroll thing against them.
But the South Park thing.
Thank you.
Thank you all for indulging us on that extended report on the Legislative Summit. But there are quite a few resources expended for us to go, and so we want to make sure that we share as much information as we can when we get back. So again, if any follow-up questions or comments, please reach out to Dr. Villarreal or Dr. Escamilla. So moving on with our staff reports, we're going to ask Jessica Alanis Pettis to come up and give us a report from our TERS task force.
Good afternoon, Dr. Escamilla, Madam Chair, Board of Regents. So after our last board meeting, we recognized that there was a need to take a deeper dive into the college's policies and procedures related to TERS projects or proposal submissions, and how the college receives information for the board's consideration. So since this task force is in its beginning phases, this presentation is just to provide some general overview of some of the objectives that the task force has laid out and the plan that we have set and what you can expect to see over the next few months. So here in front of you, you see that our first meeting was February 5th, so almost immediately after our February regular board meeting. And this is the list of the task force members that have been assigned for this particular project or initiative. You have a makeup of several of the board members on this particular task force, as well as several of us from administration helping us lead this project. So in our introductory meeting, we laid out some of the following objectives that will help guide our work over the next several months. One of our foundational objectives is to review the college's current policy related to TERS projects and submissions and determine whether we need to do some cleanup on our language. Our current policy does a good job about covering the important and required areas of TERS, but it's always good to go back and review the source document to ensure that we're in continued compliance with the language in Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code. So we will, after our review, we will propose any revisions to the policy and procedures that are in B4.37, so that way we can ensure that there's clarity and standardization for the guidelines on submitting TERS proposals to the board. We also want to make sure that we continue to stay in compliance with the legal guidelines set forth. As we look at those revisions, we hope to bring those revisions to the college's policy and procedures on TERS to you for consideration, but we also want to create a checklist based off of the policy language. The checklist would not only help provide clarity to the applicants, but it'll make it an easier communication tool for when someone does approach the college on possible TERS involvement. My hope is that this will leave less room for interpretation on what the college and the board expects to receive on those projects.
I have a comment on the objectives, or maybe a question for the task force members. One of the questions that we have gotten from the city, I think is the primary source of the TERS, is around the renewal. And so do you anticipate that there's going to be a statement or some policy guidance around renewing participation in TERS? Is that something y'all talked about? Somebody?
I don't think we talked about that specifically. It's in our policy, though, and so that is definitely something we can talk about. I would say we did have somewhat of a conversation about which ones we thought had been successful and which ones had not. And so I think that's a good conversation for us to have, given that we also had a discussion about doing an uptown TERS, and, downtown TERS is getting ready to expire. So, I think we very much took to heart your comment about the need for us to have a discussion about being involved earlier on the front end in the development of these, rather than waiting for them to come to us and either saying, okay, whatever, we'll go along, or no, this isn't at all what we think. And so that's a lot of that was maybe the central theme of the discussion was.
Yeah, I was thinking guidance. So guidance that would clearly communicate our expectation as a board, either to participate initially and or to renew if that is under consideration.
Yeah, we talked a lot about things that we felt were appropriate for us to do as the college, and things and types of TERS and projects, that we thought were appropriate for us to be involved in, and then types that historically we had not a whole lot of support for. So, and if there's, in a lot of ways, I think we talked about being able to kick those into a full board discussion or workshop so everybody could talk about it, because, we shouldn't just go four of us and drop something on all of your laps. Okay. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So the plan moving forward is that the TERS task force will continue to meet on a monthly basis from March through June is what our expected schedule is, with an anticipated summer workshop and further discussion with the board on TERS and the TERS policy slated for the summer in June or July. We hope that as the task force considers revisions to the current policy or additions to the current policy, we can bring those revisions to the board for approval through Dr. Escamilla in the summer, in July or August. So we hope to have some of that work wrapped up by the summer. So, any questions?
I just want to express my thanks to the task force members for your willingness to jump in and wrangle with that.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, Carl, I saw that. You were scratching your back, right? Twisting your arm behind your back to scratch. I'm sure that's what it was.
Thank you for sentencing us to hard labor.
All right. Next on our staff reports, we're going to have an assessment analysis of our property tax collections, which is a great discussion as we enter into budget time every year for us to understand what our property taxes look like. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members of the Board of Regents, Mr. President. Today's presentation is intended to provide insight into the key factors that affect our property tax revenue. It includes how the college is funded, describes the district local tax base, how it has changed over time, and external factors that influence our taxable valuation base as we prepare the 2025 and 2026 budget. It also highlights the trends we are monitoring and how those trends may affect the revenue we will ultimately receive. Together, this information helps us assess the stability and reliability of our property tax revenue. We begin with looking at how public community colleges across Texas are funded. Property taxes, tuition and fees, and state funding are the three main sources of revenue, but each college relies on these resources differently. Del Mar College is among 16 colleges that rely more heavily on local property taxes. For us, property taxes makes up roughly about 62% of our total M&O funding. Other colleges depend more on state funding, while some, like Blinn College, rely more on tuition and fees. We will now next look at how our tax base has performed over the past 5 years. A key takeaway is that single-family homes continue to be the strongest and most dependable part of our tax base. Over the past 5 years, our taxable property values have stayed strong and relatively steady. Most of our overall growth during this period is coming from single-family homes, with valuation increasing from $15.6 billion in 2021 to $22.8 billion in 2025. Industry properties is the one area that did not follow this upward trend. Their values dropped from $6.2 billion in 2021 to $5.6 billion in 2025, mainly because of appraisal adjustments that took effect in 2024. My last point is that the district experienced its largest year-over-year valuation growth in 2023, reaching a $52.8 billion. Values have since then settled in the $51 to $52 billion range. Overall, our tax base remains strong, well-balanced, and firmly supported by residential properties.
Can you describe other?
Oh.
A quarter of our property tax is other, and that seems like a really big percentage to not have defined.
It's mobile homes, and I can't remember, just other.
That says condo, mobile apartments.
Mobile apartments, and so.
Yeah, what is other?
So.
Personal property.
I would have to go back to my data.
You said personal property, David?
I mean, that's like they value the oil in the tanks. That's not technically, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Airplanes.
I can get you that information after this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Business
about that.
equipment.
That's
stuff
okay.
like
It's just, it's a big category, and I just.
Yeah. I'll break it down in more detail in my messaging to the president.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So on the previous slide, we saw strong growth in the region's total assessed values. What's important here is that taxable value hasn't kept pace. Over the past decade, taxable values have grown slower at a compounding annual growth rate of 4.5% per year relative to the valuation growth rate before exemptions and adjustments of 5.4%. The gap comes from the rising share of exemptions and adjustments being taken off the tax roll. These have increased from about 25% of the total property valuation in 2016 to about 31% in 2025. A key driver has been a series of property tax relief laws, including 3 homestead exemption increases in 2022, 2023, and 2025. The largest impact occurred in 2023 when exemptions jumped from 33% from the $1.5 billion to $15.3 billion. As Dr. Villarreal noted earlier, we are also monitoring the governor's proposed property tax reforms. These would limit the college's spending, require 2/3 voter approval for tax increases, and allow voters to trigger a rollback election with a 15% petition threshold. These proposals are not law today, but if enacted, they could further restrict future taxable value for the college. Overall, while total property values continue to rise, exemptions and adjustments are taking up a larger share. As a result, taxable values grow more slowly, which has an important long-term financial planning implications for the college. Okay, moving on. So what the data shows on this slide is that single-family market has stabilized after several years of interest rate-driven adjustments, creating a reliable base for future property valuations. Our region has experienced a reduction in housing market activity following the rise in interest rates beginning in 2022, with conditions leveling out from 2023 through 2025. Sales through the end of December declined from 7,250 in 2021 to a new normal to the tune of 4,300 to 4,500 range in recent years. The dollar volume has followed the same pattern, settling at roughly $1.6 billion annually. New listing and residential permits show a similar trend, with both increasing in 2024, an indication that homeowners and builders remain actively within this steadier environment. With the exception of the uncertainty surrounding the potential legislative changes to property taxes, these trends suggest that single-family property valuations should remain stable going into the next valuation cycle. Ms. Landrum will next present on property tax collections, if there are no questions.
Just a couple of comment on the residential. I keep hearing that home builders are having issues, supply chain issues. They're also having issues with workforce. And I think that's been brought out by, if you look at the Planning Commission's agenda, there's been very few large tract or large lot developments on the Planning Commission agenda, which to me indicates a slowdown in that market. So we may see a decline in that for 2026.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a fact check from that category as other. Could you go back to that slide just really quick?
Yes, sir.
Our preliminary fact checking ourselves is right on with what Regent Loeb was saying. It's mobile homes, personal property, inventory, and the like, equipment and those kinds of things of businesses and so forth.
So collectively, it's large, but individually, it's very small. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Landrum.
Ms. Landrum?
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Regents, Dr. Escamilla. So now we are going to talk about our property tax collections. So on this slide, typically we have a 5-year. I've provided you with a 5-year history of our collection rates based off of budget. As you can see, our collection performance has varied over the years, with rates ranging anywhere from the mid 60% to the mid 70%. This year, we are seeing a lower collection rate due to the county changing their vendor for their credit card processing, which caused delays in receiving the payments. However, that issue has been resolved, and as of yesterday, the collection rate for February was at 97.6%. Last year, at that same time period, we were at 98.2%, so we are seeing our collections level out. Are there any questions before I move on? Okay. So for our tax levy collections for fiscal year 2025, at the end of January, we had collected $68.2 million. For fiscal year 2026, we had collected $63.1 million. However, as of the end of February, we had collected $94 million at the end of January or February for fiscal year 2025. For fiscal year 2026, we have collected $99.4 million. So we have about $2.4 million to continue collecting over the next 6 months to reach our budget. So a few slides back, Mr. Garcia discussed the history of taxable property valuations and how it's changed over the last few years. For tax year 2022 to 2023, we saw a 21% increase in our property valuations, and then we also saw a 37.5% increase in our number of appeals filed. From 2024 to 2025, we saw a 1% increase in property valuations and a 6.9% increase in our appeals compared to the prior year. So as you can see in the graph, as property valuations fluctuate, so do the number of appeals filed. Do we have any questions before we move on? Okay. So on this last...
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
On the appeals, and do we know if, is that valuation of appeals or the raw
That's
number?
the number of appeals.
Do we know anything about the valuation of those that are appealing? Do we have any big property tax appeals like we've had in the past?
Not that, I don't have that data, so they just give me the number of appeals filed, but I can make an inquiry on that.
Okay. Now, I think the valuation represented is as important as the number of appeals. Maybe more.
Yeah, we know what it is at certification time, but this is a snapshot as of that time period that they pulled it.
So this
I think
gives us
it was
that
in
early
February.
indicator of whether or not there's going to be a problem at certification, right? So I think if we can ask that question, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so this last slide is just going to give you an update on the number of lawsuits that were filed in the district court as of December 31st. So although valuation appeals increased in tax year 2025, the number of lawsuits filed decreased by 25.6%, which could be contributed to more protests being resolved in ARB hearings. And then as of December 31st, the number of cases that were resolved was 248, and the number of pending lawsuits was 154, compared to 43 in the prior year. And that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
On the appeals, do we get any sense of, because if you appeal, you have two options. You can either pay what your uncontested amount is, or you can pay what the amount you're contesting is. Do we have any sense of what the what the total value difference between what they say and what it was noticed at is for us?
I do not. I can ask and see if they can provide that information to us.
Because I think that's an important thing for us is, are we creating a possible where we're going to owe somebody? Because I know there's some substantial properties that might make a difference in our overall budget. I think on the regular stuff, it's not that big of a deal, but
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Landreth and Mr. Garcia. Appreciate it. All right, we have a board notification, a required report from Ms. McDonald.
Thank you. Good afternoon. According to TCOL, which is the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, they have a law enforcement policy on racial profiling. The college is required to provide notice to its governing body that the report has been filed. Law enforcement racial profiling report applies to law enforcement agencies that conduct traffic stops as part of their routine performance of the officer duties. Del Mar College Law Enforcement Agency does not perform traffic stops in the routine duties of our officers, but we're still required by TCOL to file the report, and we file with an exempt status. So this is your notification that Del Mar College Police Chief Lauren White has filed the certifying report that the college is exempt, and you do have a copy of that exempt status report. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that notification that we are exempt. All right. Pending, I don't see the pending list in my board packet. Thank you. Did it get, oh, it's passed out separately. It's a piece of paper in front of me, is it? Nope. May not be. So in April, we will have quarterly investment reports. We'll get to have another Freedom to Dream update. Yay, we love those. And a strategic enrollment management plan update and internal audit report from the board, as well as a new item for us, the conference of tenure, the conferral of tenure, I should say. And the rest of the pending item list was printed. So, any questions on pending items? Seeing none, we'll move into our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes from a couple of meetings, acceptance of investment and financial reports for January. Does any item need to be pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Kelly, second by Mr. Cruel. Is there any public comment on these items? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Our one regular agenda item for the day, Mr. Rivera is going to review a agreement between Nueces County and the tax assessor collector and Del Mar College.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regents, before you is a pretty straightforward agreement. If you had a chance to look at it and look at the summary description, it should explain what we're trying to do here. But currently, in order to renew the registrations on the some 100 vehicles that we have in our fleet, it requires a Del Mar College employee to go down to the courthouse like everyone else and actually obtain the registration there. I'm going to give credit to our tax assessor, Kevin Kieschnick. Mr. Kieschnick reached out to our business office late last year and said, hey, there are a couple of provisions under the Texas, the Transportation Code and the Texas Administrative Code that give me the authority to deputize or to give a limited service authority to an individual to handle these registrations on site. And so invoking that authority, they came up with this proposed license agreement. I've reviewed it. I've discussed it with Mr. Kieschnick. I've discussed it with Mr. Garcia, and we all think it's a good idea. I will tell you that Mr. Kieschnick already has an agreement like this in place with TxDOT, with the Texas Department of Transportation. He's hoping that we can do something, and then he's going to proceed to the city next. So it's all about efficiencies and saving time and making it easier. There will be some administrative functions that we're going to have to work out here. As you can imagine, those are serious duties and responsibilities when you take on a legal authority to issue registrations. But I'm sure we can make it happen and work it out. So It's in front of you as a formal agreement because that's the way the county wanted it, even though I think he could probably do it on his own. And so it's before you for consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there staffing or other considerations that will be a result of this, taking on this workload?
I don't think that, I mean, in preliminary conversations with Mr. Garcia, I don't think it's going to take like the hiring of anybody new. It'll be additional duties. And in fact, when you balance it against having to go down there, you know, personally and the time and all of that, it'll probably be a neutral impact on us.
Okay. Mr. Kroll?
And this is just for Del Mar
Yes, sir.
College-owned vehicles.
I should have said that. So you should not show up with your vehicles, Regents, and ask.
damn.
I know. I should have addressed that ahead of time. No, this will be just for our fleet internally.
Madam
Dr.
Chair,
Babley.
I'm just curious, the number of vehicles for that
It's
college?
approximately 100
And-
operational vehicles that we have on our current liability insurance.
So do we have bulk rate for insurance, or, I mean, how does it all work?
I'm sorry?
The insurance on these vehicles?
Right, we carry insurance on that. I can ask Ms. McDonald or Ms. Alanis who are here to
Okay,
get into the
just
details.
curious, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we have liability insurance, and then some we have comprehensive insurance, so it just depends on the type of the vehicle. So we do carry insurance just like you would carry your own auto insurance for damage and liability.
Mr. Loeb?
So if I forget to mail it in, I can't, I still have to go down there, I can't come over here? Because I like coming over here better.
No, you cannot come down and get your personal
man.
vehicle.
Okay. So this is the car registration version of having the check scanner on your desk for processing checks. So it'll save whoever has to do that job now having to go down there or a lot of mail correspondence.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So staff is asking us to approve a license agreement between Oasis County and Del Mar College allowing for on-site motor vehicle registration
Second.
between the college and authorize the college president to finalize and execute the agreement. Motion by Mr. Krull, second by Mr. Loeb. Is there any other questions on the motion? Is there any public comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Regents.
Thank you. All right, the board is going to go into closed session under Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with legal counsel, and Texas Government Code 551.074 regarding personnel matters. The time is 2:21 p.m. Want to wish everyone a pleasant spring break next week. Enjoy yourselves. As usual, we expect rain during spring break in South Texas, but we are not going to complain, are we? In April, we will have our board meeting day on Tuesday, April 7th. Want to remind everyone of the invitation we received for April 15th for the Stone Writing Center 50th anniversary celebration. And if you need more details, or please ask Delia. And then the Employee Service Awards will be on April the 24th. And our board meeting day in May is going to be back on our regular second Tuesday, which would be May the 12th, followed by our pinnings, our healthcare pinning ceremony on the 14th, and then spring commencement on the 15th. With no further business, our meeting is adjourned at 2:44 p.m.